Some places don't want to be remembered, and some stories don't want to be told. What you're about to hear is based on real testimonies, missing records, and locations that no longer exist on modern maps. I didn't plan to find the town. I was driving alone, night highway, no traffic, no radio signal. It was supposed to be a straight route, 3 hours through forest, nothing more. At 11:47 p.m., my GPS recalculated. It added a road I had never seen before. No name, no distance, just a thin gray line cutting through the trees. I should have ignored it, but the sign appeared moments later. Old, rusted, barely visible in the headlights. No town name, just one word carved into the metal: slow. Not slow down, not a speed limit, just slow. The forest closed in as I turned. Tree branches arched overhead like ribs. The air felt thicker. Sound didn't travel right. Even the engine noise felt delayed, as if the road was hearing it after it happened. That's when I noticed something wrong. My clock changed. Not forward, backward. The road ended suddenly. No transition, no warning, just a town. Streetlights were on, shops stood open, but nothing made noise. No insects, no wind, no hum from the lights. Silence so complete it made my ears ring. I parked. The moment I stepped out of the car, the door closed behind me by itself. Not slammed, gently, like it didn't want attention. The air smelled old, not decay, dust and cold metal. I walked down the main street. Every building looked lived in, curtains drawn, chairs slightly pulled back, cups sitting half full, but no people. Until I heard footsteps, slow, measured, behind me. I turned. A man stood under a streetlight, middle-aged, normal clothes, normal face, too normal. He smiled and said, "You're early." His voice sounded practiced, like he'd said the sentence many times before. I asked where I was. He didn't answer. Instead, he asked my name. I told him. His smile faded, just slightly. "That name," he said, "is already on the list." I laughed. Bad instinct. He looked past me toward my car. "Did you come alone?" he asked. I nodded. He exhaled in relief. "That's good," he said. "Groups take longer." More people appeared, quietly. They didn't walk from buildings. They were just suddenly there. Men, women, children, all watching. No phones, no bags, no modern clothing past early 2000s. A woman stepped forward and spoke gently. "You can stay the night." Her eyes were red but not crying, like they'd forgotten how. "We ask only 3 things," she said. 1, do not go into the forest. 2, do not try to leave before morning. 3, if someone knocks on your door, do not answer. I asked why. She looked at the trees. Because that's how the town keeps balance. They led me to a small house, clean, warm. Inside, everything felt prepared, too prepared. On the bedroom door, written in chalk, my full name, spelled correctly. I asked how they knew. The man from earlier said, "The town remembers everyone who enters." I asked how long they'd lived here. No one answered. That night, I lay awake listening. At 3:12 a.m., the knocking began. Slow, polite, 3 taps, from the inside of the walls, not the door, the walls. Something moved through the house, behind the plaster, dragging fingers along the frame. A voice whispered my name. Wrong. Like it was still learning how to say it. In the kitchen, I found a journal. Old, leather-bound. The first entry was dated 1891. It described the town being built around a mining road. The second entry mentioned disappearances. The third entry stopped naming people. It referred to them only as offerings. Later pages were worse. They described the forest, not as trees, but as a mouth. Morning didn't arrive. The sky stayed frozen in pre-dawn gray. The townspeople gathered in the street. Someone was missing. A young boy. No one panicked. They just nodded. The forest collected, the woman said. Then she looked at me. It will need replacement. That's when I realized something. None of the townspeople cast shadows, except me. That was the moment I understood. I wasn't visiting the town. I was being processed, and the road that brought me there was already disappearing behind the trees. I didn't sleep, not because I was afraid, but because the house wouldn't let me. Every time I closed my eyes, the walls creaked inward, not loudly, just enough to remind me they were listening. At 3:12 a.m. again, the knocking returned. 3 taps, always 3. But this time, it wasn't asking to come in, it was counting. At what passed for morning, the town gathered near the forest line. No one cried, no one whispered. They stood like people waiting for a bus. The woman, the one who had spoken kindly to me, held a small shoe in her hand. A child's, mud still wet on the sole. "The forest doesn't take all of you at once," she said calmly. "That would be cruel." I asked what she meant. She looked at me like I was young. "In the beginning, it takes your sense of direction, then your time, then your voice. Only later does it take your body." I asked what happened to the boy. She pointed between the trees. "He's still alive," she said. "He just isn't finished disappearing." There was a narrow trail into the forest. Not marked, not cleared, but worn, as if many feet had walked it before. No one ever stepped onto it. I asked why. A man answered without turning his head. "The forest remembers the shape of people. If you go in twice, it learns you faster." I noticed something then. The trees nearest the town were smooth. No bark, no leaves. Just pale, stretched wood, like skin pulled too tight. I returned to the house. The journal was open to a page I hadn't seen before. The ink was fresh, not written, bleeding. It described the first deal, how the town had been starving, how miners went missing, how something beneath the forest offered balance, food, safety, longevity, in exchange for visitors. At first, strangers, then travelers, then people who arrived by accident, people like me. At night, the forest made sounds, not animal sounds, human ones, but stretched, slowed. A scream that lasted hours, without breath. It didn't echo, it soaked into the trees. I covered my ears. The townspeople didn't react. One of them whispered as he passed me, "That means the forest is almost done with him." I finally understood why no one here looked old, why clothes stayed clean, why time felt paused. The town wasn't preserved, it was fed. Every person taken slowed decay, extended everyone else's place. I asked the woman how long she'd lived here. She answered honestly, "Longer than my bones were meant to." Then she showed me her wrist. The skin slipped when she touched it, like it no longer fit. That night, the knocking moved, from the walls to the floor, then to the ceiling. Something crawled through the house, not inside it, but within it. A voice tried again to say my name. Better this time. Closer. I realized then, it wasn't calling me. It was practicing being me. I confronted them in the street, told them I wasn't staying. The man from the streetlight finally stopped smiling. "There is a way out," he said, "but it costs the town." I asked what that meant. He pointed to the forest. "Someone must go in willingly," he said, "and be fully taken. Not processed," he added, "consumed." I understood. They didn't need visitors. They needed replacements. They showed me a map, old paper. My town, my real town, was on it. So was this place, but as I watched, this town faded, ink pulling back into the page, erasing itself. "That's why you can't find us," the woman said softly. "The map forgets us every time we're fed." Then she looked me straight in the eyes, and it's hungry again. That night, I packed nothing, because nothing I brought in would leave with me. Outside, the forest waited, not moving, not breathing, just open, like a mouth that had learned patience. By the third week, Ethan stopped checking the time, not because he didn't care, but because the house had begun changing it. The clocks never agreed anymore. His phone would say 2:11 a.m., the microwave 12:43, the old wall clock in the hallway. Its second hand no longer ticked. It dragged, like it was being pulled through something thick. He tried replacing the batteries. New ones died within minutes. One morning, he woke up standing, barefoot, in the hallway, facing the basement door. His hand was already on the knob. He didn't remember leaving the bed, didn't remember walking, didn't remember dreaming. But his chest hurt, like he'd been holding his breath for a very long time. The basement door was warm, not room temperature warm, body warm, as if something had been standing on the other side, breathing against it. He stepped back. The door knocked. Once, from inside. Ethan began recording himself. Not for YouTube, not for proof, for sanity. Every night he left his phone on the nightstand with the recorder running. At first it caught nothing, just breathing, sheets shifting, the low groan of the house settling. Then, whispers. So faint he almost missed them. He wore headphones, turned the volume all the way up. The whispers weren't words, they were attempts, like something learning how language worked by watching him. A pause, then a breath, then and his name didn't echo. Sound should echo in a bedroom that small. This didn't. It sounded like the voice was coming from inside the microphone itself. The next night, the voice improved, clearer, closer, too close. "Why don't you come downstairs?" Ethan didn't answer. The voice waited, then sighed. A long, disappointed sound, the way a parent exhales when a child refuses to listen. The basement door opened on its own 3 days later. Slowly, no creak, no resistance, just willing. The smell hit him first. Not rot, not mold, something older, something sealed for a reason. The stairs descended farther than they should have. He counted. There were 17 steps. The house blueprint said 9. At the bottom, the floor wasn't concrete. It was dirt, packed flat, pressed down like it had been walked on for years. In the center of the basement was a shape, not furniture, not debris, a space, an outline in the dirt where something had been removed, something human-sized, something that had been lying there long enough for the ground to remember its weight. The walls weren't walls anymore. They were layered, scratched, covered in marks that weren't random, tallies, hundreds of them, thousands, some deep, some shallow, some interrupted, like whoever made them had been dragged away mid-count. Then he heard breathing, not behind him, not beside him, from below the dirt. Ethan ran. He doesn't remember climbing the stairs, only slamming the basement door and pushing furniture against it. That night, the house stopped pretending. The whispers became conversations. Footsteps walked when he didn't. Doors opened to rooms he never entered, and every mirror showed him standing slightly wrong, head tilted too far, smile held too long, eyes tracking something behind him. He covered the mirrors. They whispered through the cloth. The voice began telling him things he never told anyone, things only he knew, things he forgot he knew. It told him the house wasn't haunted. It was occupied, and whatever lived beneath it had been there first, long before the house, long before the town, long before names mattered. It wore people the way weather wears stone, slowly, patiently, until nothing original remained. Ethan's final audio file is 43 minutes long. Most of it is silence, then breathing, then crying. At the 30-minute mark, he whispers, "It's standing in my room." A pause. I can hear it learning how to breathe. Another pause. Longer, then footsteps, heavy, wet, coming closer. The voice speaks, not through Ethan, through the recorder, perfectly calm, perfectly practiced. He said he wanted to leave. A breath. He didn't understand that once the house learns your name, silence. Then, you never leave alone. The recording ends. The house still stands. New owners never stay long. They complain about dreams, about hearing footsteps, about a voice that says their name the first night they sleep there, always softly, always correctly. And sometimes, when the basement door is open just a little, you can see marks in the dirt, fresh ones, as if someone new has started counting again.